Okay, this is day 12 notes, 12/9, which was a Monday. Please place your name up here. Okay, so the first part here is to remember the relationship between angles. These are corresponding angles. And when you see two parallel lines, they are congruent. Number 2, these are on the outside of, and let me go through the basics for a good review. These are called transversals, and these are parallel lines. So when you see the information is outside of the two lines, those are externals. So we call those alternating exterior angles. Okay? And these are also congruent to each other. What does that mean? It means if they give you this is 30 degrees, that means that's 30 degrees. Number 3, when they're below or above the two lines, those are also called corresponding. These are below the lines, but they're both on the same side. We call them corresponding angles. They're also congruent. Now, notice here on the transversal, they're on the same side, so we call them consecutive angles. We also call them same side. Okay, and again, these are not congruent. These are x plus y equals 180. They're supplementary angles. Okay, so let me throw that in there as a good review for your chapter or your final supplementary. And finally, number 5. Again, these are alternating around the transversals. We call them alternating interior because they're inside of the two parallel lines. Alternating interior angles, and these are congruent. Okay, and so this is what you need for today's lesson. You will need to know the rest for your final, which is going to be on Monday and Tuesday. And then 6. So 6 is, here you go. Again, they're alternating and they're exterior. So it's a repeat problem. Alternating exterior angles. All right. So we'll go on to the next part. When you have two parallel lines, given the diagram below, line AB is parallel to CD. Okay? So the whole idea of reviewing this means that we're going to find some angles that are congruent, and I'm kind of give you a hint that they're going to be the alternating interior angles. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to do before we get into what's being asked for. Okay, the alternating interior angles are going to be 1 and 5, which happen to be right over here in this diagram, and then 3 and 6, which you see right here. So I just wanted to point out to you that this is your transversal. So even though it doesn't show it like that, this is your transversal. Okay, and then this is another transversal to give you a little bit of help. Okay, the other thing that you have to remember from our lesson that day is angle 1, 2, and 3. Anytime you have a line, okay, and you have angles or rays that are coming out, okay, this forms 180 degrees. Okay, so in this case, you need to know that measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 is equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so that is called your straight line theorem. So let's start with the assignment. It says prove that the measure of angle 5, 2, and 6 all make 180. And you all know already a triangle makes 180 degrees. Okay? Well, what's different is they want you to prove it. Okay? So if you walk over here, let's start with this proof. They're wanting you to, that's what this proof is. Okay? This whole enchilada right here. Alright, so when AB is parallel to CD, that's given. And then we've already given you a clue that the measure of angle 3 is equal to 6 and the measure of angle 1 is equal to 5. And what was the reason that those are equal? You're right, alternating interior angles. And if you want to put, they are congruent. So that means their measurement's going to be equal. We'll go on to the next line. It says that the measure of angle 1, 2, and 3 are 180. Well, what is that called? I just reminded you that that is the straight line theorem. Okay, and you will be seeing this on your quiz as well as your exam. So you do need to memorize this. And that's all you have to do is memorize it, because there's nothing going to change except maybe the diagram with different numbers. Okay? Because when you prove that triangle is 180, this is the same proof every time. Now, how do you get from here to part C? Well, you're going to have to be a detective. You're going to have to take a look at what's different between that guy and this guy. So right now we could say the 180s are the same, the 2s are the same. What's different is the 1 changed to the 5 and the 3 changed to the 6. So if you were paying close attention, you would have noticed up here, look, the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 5, so they replaced it. They replaced measure 1 with 5. And here, they replaced 3 with 6. Okay, and that's called substitution. Okay, so now you have proven part A, which is all these angles add up to 180. Okay, now the measure of angle 2 is 3x minus 18. That's this guy, so I'm going to go ahead and write it in there, 3x minus 18. And the measure of angle 5 is equal to x plus 5. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in there. Okay? And they also gave you that the measure of angle 6 is 31, so you get to add that in. There's no algebra there. Now, they're asking for, be very careful, they're asking for 4, so I'm going to highlight. Where is 4 at? Okay, 4 is way over here. So this is the guy we're looking for. Okay? All right? And I kind of need to give you a little tutorial. Do you see the angle 4 and 5? Okay, this is 5, this is 4. They form a linear pair or supplementary angles. And anybody remember what supplementary angles are? That means that the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 5 are equal to 180. Okay, so if we find out what 5 is, we can find out what 4 is. And we know that 5 is x plus 5, so we need to find x. Okay? So we really should have had 2 steps here for you. Find x. Okay? Because once you find x, you can find 5, and then we can find 4. Okay, let's take a look here. So, in order to solve this, you have to know the relationship of M2, M5, and M6 all make a triangle, and you just prove that they equal 180. So you're going to put in 3, I'm going to start up here because there's more space up here, 3x minus 18, and you're going to add this one, plus x plus 7, then you're going to add the 31 degrees, and you're going to set it all equal to 180. So what I did was just plug in all these values. Now, the next step is you got to combine like terms, put a little 1 in front of there. So I'm going to circle, I got to combine the 3x and the 1x. How much does that make? 4x. You have to combine the numbers now. Minus 18 plus a 7 plus a 31. When you put that in your calculator, you should come up with 20. And then don't forget your 180. Okay, what's the next step? Okay, got to get rid of this 20. The only way to get rid of him is subtract him off. Okay, and that becomes 160. Alright, so now what we have is 4x, and I just came straight down here, 4x equals 160. Okay, divide by 4, divide by 4, and x equals 40 degrees. Okay? So we've got to the first step. We still haven't gotten 4 yet, but we told you that if we substitute 40 degrees right here, what do you get? It's 40 plus, that's supposed to be a 7, by the way. X plus, let me change it down here. Make sure nobody gets confused. So x plus 7 is 40 plus 7, so this is 47 degrees. Okay, so how do I get 4? 4 is supplementary, so that's 180 minus 47 degrees, and you should get 133 degrees. Write on your calculator if you don't believe me. Okay, so 133 degrees. And that's what they're asking for. 133 degrees is your answer. All right, if you miss these steps, my recommendation is just rewind it and replay it until you get it, and then get a blank sheet of paper. I'm going to give you a tip on how to study. Okay, once you look at this video, stop it and set yourself up again. Set up the problem just like this, kind of teaching you how to study, and redo it. Okay, you have the answer. Okay, so just redo it until you do it without looking at the answer or at the video. I will guarantee you will get it. Okay, algebra requires you to practice, 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 but you will get it, and you're going to feel great. So let's turn to the second page. It's a repeat of the same problem. So we're just going to go in. We know that these two lines are parallel. Okay, we're supposed to prove that 2, 3, and 6 are 180. So they're saying that 2 and 5 are congruent. Well, that's true because those are what? And 3 and 7 are congruent because those are alternate interior angles. Okay, and they are congruent. Then they're saying that 5, 6, and 7 are 180. Okay, why? What do you call those kind of angles? Straight line. You are correct. So you notice we're just repeating what we had on the first page. Straight line theorem. And then finally we have the measure of angle 2, 6, and 3 are 180. But how do we get from here to here? Well, we know the 6s are the same, the 80s are the same. We traded out the 5 for a 2, and we traded out the 7 for a 3. That is called substitution. And you're done with that proof. Next, you know they're going to ask for an angle. They're looking for the measure of angle 7. Okay? So, if we figure out what 3 is, we know what 7 is, because these are alternate interior. So I'm going to make a note. I bet you they're going to tell us what the measure of angle 3 is. This problem is very different from this problem. Here it was a supplementary line, so you subtracted it from 180. Here it's a little different. You have 3 angles, so you can't do the supplementary, but you can do the alternate interior. So let's take a look what they gave us. Start with right here. Measure of angle 2 is 7x minus 11. Okay, and I'm going to take a little pause here because I need to speak to a student. One moment. Okay, so back to the drawing board. So let's take a look. So right here they gave us that M2 is 7x minus 11. They gave me that angle 3 is 5x minus 2. And they gave me that 6 was 49 degrees. Okay, so all three, 7x minus 11 plus 5x minus 2 plus the 49 must equal 180 degrees because it's a triangle. Okay, so let's combine like terms. These two make 12x. I have a lot more room to play with. Okay, and then we're going to combine 11 minus 2 and the 49. And I actually need to take out my calculator. And so, let's take a look at this. So, that is a minus 11. We got 49, subtract 2, subtract 11, and we get 62. So, that doesn't sound right. So 49 subtract 2 is 47. Subtract 11, that's better. 36 equals 180. Okay, I got to get rid of that 36 by subtracting 36. Subtract 36. 180 subtract 36 is 177. So we get 12x equals 177. Divide by 12, divide by 12. Okay, so what we have next is 177 divided by 12. Okay, so x equals 14.75. Okay, so once you get that value, go ahead and plug it in to 3. The measure of angle 3 is equal to 5x minus 2. So 5 times 14.75 minus 2 is 73.75. Subtract 2 gives you 71.75 is a measure of angle 3. Why are we looking for that? Because we were asked to find 7, and we know that 7 is congruent to 3, so the measure of angle 7 is also 71.75 degrees. All right, so that finishes today's lesson, and it was off the cuff here, so let me make sure to go over it. But what we did here is we know that MC is 5x minus 2. Where did I get it from? Right there. And we just found that x is our value, so we plugged it right in there. Okay, multiplied it out, got 73.75. Subtract the 2, we get 71.75. Okay. We said that angle 3 is what we just calculated. Why do we do that? Because we know that angle 3 and angle 7 are alternate interiors, so that means 7 is the same. All right, so that finishes our lesson 12. And please finish your homework and have a good day. Thank you very much.